Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 131 of the Need to Nerd podcast. I'm one of your nerds, Heezy, and I'm joined by another nerd, Paddy B.
Oh, hello everyone. Welcome into this special episode of the show. We've been teasing for like weeks and weeks and
Time to talk about disfigured people.
woo!
Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Notre Dame! Notre Dame football! No, Hunchback of Notre Dame. And we will specifically be talking about kind of the musical versus the movie. And to those who don't know, Patty, you've actually played Frollo and Quasimodo in productions of this musical.
Yes, I have. I've been both sides of this twisted, messed up coin, and kind of have a bit of a unique perspective on this one. So I am excited to talk about it today.
Well, before we do that, why don't you give us our fun fact, our nerd fact of the week?
Yeah. So I was looking through and some of the main differences, like we were talking about some of the main differences, and in the novel and in the musical, Claude Frollo is the Notre Dame arch. See, now you got me doing it. Notre Dame archdeacon. However, um, Disney feared that an evil priest wouldn't sit well with Christian organizations when they released the movie in 1996. So, as such, Frollo was transformed into a judge. Furthermore, the plot's theological underpinnings were downplayed in the movie version.
Yeah, we'll get into it, but like we were watching this, the other, maybe it was,
Well, it was last night, I think,
was it
right?
last
Saturday night.
night? I was gonna
Yeah,
say, and Devonair was like, he's not the archdeacon. What is he? Like we couldn't figure it out.
yeah.
So it was
Because you
funny.
you guys had came and saw the musical, so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I think that it was probably a good decision by Disney, uh, to make sure that their movie did better than it probably would have otherwise. But it does change it quite a bit, and we'll probably get into that in the show here. Before we dive in, though, I just want to mention the Discord. This actually came up in the CCMTG Discord where people are like, "Why don't we have an anime channel?" And I'm like, "I'm not adding every nerd culture channel into my Magic Discord.
You
I
don't get to do
have
it here.
another Discord for all of this."
Yeah,
So if you're into that kind of stuff, like whether it's Magic the Gathering, anime, fantasy sports, video games, all that type of stuff, we do have a Discord. I would encourage people to check it out. Talk to like-minded nerds like yourself, and yeah. And then don't forget to share the show. We say this every week, but it really does help the show out. We'd love to see the show grow and hear from the listeners about what would you like to hear. Even if you're listening, you're like, man, you're this far, and you're like, I hate this Spencer Scott's voice. I don't want to chop his vocal cords up and feed him to a puppy. Well, that's great. You can hate me, and just go ahead and share the show with somebody that you hate.
okay.
Okay, you didn't
That
like.
was aggressive. Chop your vocal cords up and feed them to a puppy.
I don't know. People
Oh,
have said horrible things to me, man. I don't know.
I know it's graphic. I'm sorry. You don't
Uh,
deserve it.
you can join. You can also join our contest by subscribing on YouTube. The first 1,000 subscribers will get entered in to win a free, paid for by me, Nintendo console and the newest Smash game. So check it out. Just heading over to YouTube.com, search for the Heezy and Media channel, and give us a subscription. Now, from there, let's talk about Hunchback of Notre Dame movie versus musical. Penny, I'm kind of going to let you lead this one. I think you're the subject matter expert, so to speak, here. Why don't you talk to me about some of the major differences between the movie and the musical?
Yeah, so I kind of broke it down into a couple categories. The first one was characters, right? So um, obviously it's really hard in the musical to do something like Jolly, the Esmeralda's goat companion in the movie. He offered a lot of visual comedy. You know my affection for uh, nonverbal animal characters. Um, and then specifically, I mentioned Victor, Hugo, and Laverne. Those are the three gargoyles in the movie version. Um, while there are gargoyles that are kind of the voices in Quasi's head in the musical, these like they're not really named, and it's not they're not like distinct characters. Um, and then we kind of mentioned it there in our nerd fact about the archdeacon, how the archdeacon was a separate figure who um, kind of was this like uh, someone to confide in for Esmeralda, kind of the voice of reason when at the beginning of the show when Frollo was committing his atrocities. Um, so those are some of the movie differences. Some that are in the musical that are not
So
in the movie.
can we talk
Yeah,
about some of these really quick? Just like
sure.
uh, I just you know you have uh you have some really big names as the gargoyles in the movie, and like they
Hmm.
are like you have Kevin Kline, Jason Alexander, and uh, who plays
Oh, I forget. She's iconic though.
Mary Wicket? Is it Wicks? But just they are huge voices in the film,
Hmm.
and it that was a stark difference. It was a starchy difference. It's a stark difference when watching the musical.
Yeah, definitely. Um, with those voices too, and having that archdeacon be a separate role and an actual character of good. Um, some things that I thought of from the musical that are missing, and I um, particularly is Jehan, who is Frollo's brother. To open the musical, they tell kind of Frollo's story of how he and his brother were orphans who lived at Notre Dame, and how his brother went on one path and he went on a different path, and how that kind of set up the way he thinks about things. Um, and it really does serve to like having that Jayon character, and it gives Frollo this like lighter side where like it shows that he does care about people, which is something that you know with the way that the theological Christian nature that Disney was kind of downplaying. um it leans into that and shows that he does care about people. And um then I thought of like Saint Aphrodisias, and the whole flight into Egypt side of um the story, and it gives Quasi kind of the motivation to do a lot of things. Right, they're talking about Saint Afro in the beginning of um the show, when Frollo's telling that's the story they talk about, that he's really excited. um
Yeah.
and
Oh, okay.
and in the second act when he doesn't know what to do, Afro is that
That guiding
guiding
light for him,
voice.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference by far between movie and musical is the fact that Quasimodo is Frollo's nephew, and
Yeah,
like that's just like that's just a huge difference in like the story in a lot of ways.
sure. Yeah, there's it gives that relationship between the two that um when you have this judge character who only thinks of himself, like um yeah, it's a pretty stark difference.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you don't have mentioned here is the kind of the like the offer is not clear in the movie what exactly he's offering to Esmeralda, and it's
Right.
very clear in the musical what's happening.
Yeah. Frollo does a lot of creepy, pervy stuff in both, but yeah, I agree there that yeah, the exchange for Phoebus's life um is very clear, clearly sexual favors. So
And you were going to talk about the music?
yeah, so with the music, two things that are present because of we're missing, Victor Hugo and Laverne. A Guy Like You is not in the musical because uh it's a different tone, right? That song is like trying to pump him up. Um and it really changes the relationship that Quasi and Esmeralda have, right? Like in A Guy Like You, they're trying to pump him up to like go get the girl, but like really they are friends. Um and while he like has those kind of aspirations like of um someone who like the first person to show him kindness, um that's not like his main goal. And then I put on in Someday because it is um in the musical version, but it's like the end credit song for the like titles at the end of the movie, where it's kind of in both, but like not really. You're kind of missing that from the movie. Uh, some other things, as far as the musical, obviously there's going to be a lot more music in the musical version. A lot of I was looking through the song list, and a lot of the songs are is just the storytelling, where it's not like something that like would be in either that might be missing. Um, for instance, Rest and Recreation was the first thing I thought of kind of giving you an introduction into who Phoebus is. Um, that obviously would not play in the Disney movie, but it kind of sets up who he is as a character. Um, Top of the World, right, to set up the Esmeralda Quasi relationship and that connection. Um, Something like the Tavern Song
I actually thought the
to
Top of the World would have worked in the movie
yeah,
version.
totally. That it would have totally worked. I don't know. It must have been. It had to have been written by Alan like after the fact, right when they were making the musical. Um,
Yeah, that's something that we kind of haven't mentioned yet. That Alan did both, right? Like
yeah,
he does the music for both, and I think it's like a nice adaptation. Like he's doing adaptation of himself in a lot of ways, and I
hmm
think that it's really cool.
yeah. It's not very common. Like that's not a really like common thing that you're able to do both sides of the project. Alan Menken is just fantastic and has made some of the best music um, for Disney. Um, I think about like the Tavern Song that sets up the Esmeralda um, Phoebus relationship rather than just um, I don't know the movie like there's that connection, but it the tavern like setting up the like hell it sets up Hellfire, it sets up
Yeah.
that relationship, um and gets into the nitty gritty of like, oh, this is what this is about.
I also think are some of the songs longer in the musical, like Topsy Turvy, I think is
Yeah.
both longer and has a reprise in the
Yes.
musical.
So I have it up over here. Let me pull it up. In the movie, yeah. So Topsy Turvy is like a 5-minute thing because they break it up. They break it up in the musical, right? So there's like Topsy Turvy Part 1 that is like pre Phoebus. Phoebus does his thing, and then it's kind of there's the Topsy Turvy Part 2, where it's about the same length. Oh, and Rhythm of the Tambourine is in between. So like the actual Topsy Turvy part is about the same length, but it feels longer because
I
it
see.
it tells you've got 2 songs in between that are, the Esmeralda song and the Phoebus song.
Okay. Is there was another one that you don't have listed. Is uh is it the Hall of Dream? What is it called?
Court of Miracles, yeah.
Is the Court of Miracles lyrics different in the movie?
Slightly. Slightly.
And that could be true for multiple songs. Like that was just the
Yeah.
one that I thought I noticed it in.
Yeah, so there's a verse in the movie one where he says, "Justice is swift in the court of miracles. I am the lawyers and judge all in one. We like to get the trial over with quickly
Got it.
because the
Okay.
sentence is really the fun." And so like there's that like puppet play.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit different.
Okay. I thought it was like I'm pretty sure that those lyrics were different, but
Mm-hmm.
only seeing the musical once, I wasn't confident.
Right.
By the way, kind of a pretty big shout out. The guy that you guys had playing him, I thought was fantastic in the Murray arts one. I
For
thought
our club pump.
yeah, I thought your Clopin was like fantastic.
Oh yeah, he was wonderful. I think, and to be honest, like it really was a dream cast. Like everyone was super talented. Everyone was like crazy dedicated to that project. We did some really cool things because it was outside. Like we had a full orchestra, which you don't get the opportunity to do a lot with musicals. And a full choir on each, on both sides. So it added to the aura of the show.
It was. I'm really glad that that's the version that I saw. Like one having one of your best friends playing the lead, having it was really fun. So those are like the differences that we have listed here. I want to get into kind of like our favorite things about whether it's pick either one. And if they're different. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious, like you've played both male leads. Do you have one of the questions I asked you today? You were over at my house. We were watching football. Asking Devonair what baby she kicked that belonged to the fantasy football gods to have what happens to. I looked, by the way. I think.
Oh no,
Adrian listens to this podcast sometimes.
Okay.
And
so taking a break from Hunchback real quick.
Yeah,
quick aside.
Yeah, sorry, total derailment. But I just got to talk about this because we didn't do our fantasy bit at the beginning. That
sure.
Like I think this is Adrian's first game scoring over 100, and
okay.
it is Devonair's first game scoring under 130.
Yeah, I thought you had done and I can probably look into all the the stats of the years that I've been commissioning the league. But we talked about how for the last 3 years, Devonair has
Dude,
consistently
one of the
scored.
years she didn't make the playoffs and had the most points scored.
Yeah, that's crazy. It all depends on your week. I did say last week that Adrian's team was pretty boom bust. So when it's booming, it's booming.
Anyway,
But yeah,
but no, you were over here talking fantasy football, and the question that I asked you was, um, which character do you prefer to play? And that's I think it's interesting because the musical, I know which one I would prefer to play. Oh, I also have a question for you. Okay, answer that question, then I have the other question.
sounds good. So I think one thing I would say about our the Murray run and playing Quasimodo, I wanted to do much more. It was kind of a short run. There was only 7 shows. Um, However, I and so it would be Quasimodo just because I love him as a character. I think he's really deep and um it's very it was well for a few reasons. One, it got me into the gym. It was the motivation I needed to actually start going to the gym. I really have not been as active. Part of that is because I've been busy bartending weddings and stuff with Shelby, and so my time is a little stretched, and I'm a lot more tired. But during the show, it got me to push my limits vocally. It got me to push my limits physically. Um, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I do just love the character. Now with Frollo, I'm not the person that you would say is traditionally the person who plays that, right? My vocal range is significantly higher for than a lot of his stuff, right? So it it was an interesting experience and something that I kind of got to work through a bit of my own personal religious issues. Like I'll just kind of leave that there as far as people in power, manipulating and taking advantage of other people. Um so that that was kind of the basis for my character, and it really came off that people were like, I loved seeing you. You made me feel icky. And that was I accomplished the goal
It's
doing
so
that.
funny uh, when you told us that you were cast as Frollo,
Yeah.
Devonair literally says, "No, he wasn't." I was like, she's like, Paddy B can't play Frollo. Paddy B's the nicest guy ever. He can't. There's no way.
And that was part of it, right? Is being this nice on the face. He seems like he's trying to do the right thing, but it's just wrong every step he takes. It's twisted there.
Yeah. So,
You had another question.
well, yeah, I was gonna say I would much rather play Frollo than Quasi. My question is, uh, if it's written differently, or if the the way you talked in two different ways when you were Quasi. When you were talking
Mm-hmm.
to the gargoyles, you talked normally, and then when
Yes.
talking to everybody else, you talk like you couldn't talk. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious if it's written that way or if that was a character choice.
Yeah, so it is written that way. Where Quasimodo is basically deaf. Um, so it's he can speak a little bit, but when he's singing and when he's in his head talking to the gargoyles, it's your own internal thought, and so that is clear.
Cool. All right, that's kind of the major questions that I had about playing the characters. Let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about favorite characters though. And Penny, I'm gonna let you go first. You know, Who's your? I mean, is it Quasi? Is it just Quasi?
Yeah, I guess like I put in our normal like favorite character, favorite storyline, like kind of the normal stuff we do when we review like pieces of material, and
But you want one for both. You want to talk about?
sure, okay, yeah, we could do that. So favorite movie character, um,
It's the goat. The goat.
so Jolly is up there, yeah, um, but like I think my favorite character in the movie is Esmeralda. Um, particularly because um there is that between like her and Frollo, like ideologically. Uh
Paddy.
I can't hear him.
Paddy.
There
Paddy.
you are.
You're back. Okay, give
Oh,
me.
you're back. You're it's like connection interrupted on your
Oh, it
like
said it on
window.
yours too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, give us 10 seconds. So just start from in the movie. It's Esmeralda.
Sure. Yeah, so in the movie my favorite character is Esmeralda. Um a lot of that comes from her having this like direct conflict with Frollo. Like you have the two sides of the coin ideologically. Um and like it's very clear like that she's for actual justice, and some of the part of it I think is like also because Jolly's around, like in the movie there are some cool bits with her and Jolly getting up to shenanigans. So yeah, I like as far as movie characters, Esmeralda. Musical, yeah, it's Quasi. I can't I
Well,
can't not.
hold on before we move on to Quasi.
Yeah.
I really like just Esmeralda as a character.
Yeah.
I think that like this she does a really good job as a character of like just in both for what it's worth of like showing this like you can be kind-hearted and like your morals might not match the morals of society or the norm or your superiors, and that can be true and you can be right. like yeah, my morals don't match yours, but I'm actually the one that's right. You in society are actually the one that's wrong, and you see that through your treatment of others that are different than you. And I just think that like it's kind of a powerful message because
Hmm.
like her like, she steals, right? And she's very much like a like there I was gonna text my family this the other day and I didn't do it, but like it's kind of like if you see somebody stealing baby formula,
Hmm.
do you say anything? And that's your own
Yeah.
morality, right? Like,
Yeah.
do you think stealing is wrong? I do. Do
Yeah.
what I would I? I'll just say, well, I would not. I'd be like, all right, well, that person needed that pretty badly. I might pay for it for them, like if I can, if I don't
Hmm.
think it's gonna make us, you know what I mean. But
Sure.
like, I also probably would not, you know,
Like I would not myself, but
like
also I'm not in their
yeah,
shoes in their
exact.
situation.
Well, that's the thing, right? But also, like, if I saw them doing it, is it my moral responsibility to be like, hey, that person's stealing, like we should stop them? Or
Yeah.
is it my moral responsibility to be like a baby needs to get fed
Yeah.
and like let's just go for, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I think that Esmeralda is like, no, like I'm stealing because that's the situation I'm in, and that's the situation we're in, and we're in this situation because of like societal problems.
Mm-hmm.
And it is an interesting question that she is proposing.
Yeah. Yep. And then from the musical, it's Quasimodo. Love I love this character so much. And I kind of have this. Some of my favorite characters to play and in stories are these characters with physical deformities, um, who are better than that, and they're not necessarily treated well, but they overcome. And yeah, I'll say it's another like kind of big difference that we didn't really talk about in between the movie and the musical is like the tragedy of it all. Um, a lot more tragic stuff happens in the musical because it's closer to the book. Um, there are still differences from the book, but like nobody really gets a happy ending in the musical. Um, whereas that's not the case in the Disney movie. And that's okay. It's powerful storytelling.
Yeah, I think Quasi in both of them is uh it's so interesting to like think of being raised like that. Um and so unfair. And so, I think that trying to, from the moral question, right, that we already asked, like, Quasi's trying to figure his out.
Right. He's never had really any outside interaction, so those like moral questions weren't raised to him, and he's going through a lot of this for the first time. Um there one thing that my director Candy was as far like gave me as far as direction was um that Quasimodo in the musical version is like the voice for the audience and for humanity. Um which like kind of gives that spotlight into just the like human emotions um in the show,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is also pretty powerful.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I really love about your portrayal of Quasimodo, specifically in the musical, was just your dedication to just like hurting yourself, like with the like beefing it on that stage the way you did was just
Oh wait, did you guys come the night that I fell off the front?
yeah.
Oh right, that's right. Okay, yeah. So some context here. I say fell off the front. We had a set piece that we would move on for our magic tricks. It housed cold flame and smoke machines. And yeah, so unintentionally, one night during the topsy turvy number, oh, I think it was during. Was it during the harrowing? I can't remember
It was that
exactly.
it was like I don't know. It was it was after you were crowned.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Before I got yeah, brutalized. Yeah. So king of the festival rolls off the front and almost goes into the pit. But you know it.
You just it was
I
it was
sold it well. It was good.
dedication.
Yeah.
No. So my favorite character from the movie is it's tough. My initial I think it's Esmeralda. We kind of already talked about that. For the musical, uh, it was Cloven. Like I don't know if it was the person you guys had playing him, or it was. I just think he's like more sly and like he's both comic relief and this like kind of sly guy in the musical that I don't think he exactly came across in the movie. So he's
Yeah.
like, go ahead.
So there's a bit of that. I'll talk about. Well, that's yeah. So the character of Clopin is a little bit different in between the two. He is kind of this like omnipresent narrator, and when we did it, or when I did it in at Draper when I was playing Frollo, um, we kind of leaned into that narration stuff a bit more, where some of the other like ensemble lines were given to Clopin to kind of give that
Mm.
like constant throughout narrating the story, um, which was pretty sweet. But yeah, it's he is the embodiment of all the things that the gypsies are doing as well, right? He's king of the gypsies and does the debauchery that um ensues there. So
Yeah, I mean, in the musical, like it feels like it really sets up what, like why he's needed, what he's doing, how he's the king. Like everything is very clear about him. And I think his character has a lot more
mhm,
depth in the musical.
definitely, yep.
Let's do favorite storylines, and I'll go first. In the movie, my favorite storyline is probably. I mean, it's probably like. Hmm. It's tough. I think it's kind of small in the movie, but I
Hmm.
kind of liked it, which was Phoebus's like turn. Like
Sure, yeah. His arc of like walking in big man on campus, but like not really
yeah,
anyone knowing who he is, like, and then that was kind of different too, like because it so the burning of that house in the movie, right? Like it was not just a regular farmer's house in the musical, right?
right. It's the tavern.
It's a yeah, it's a brothel. So like um there's that extra layer where like in the movie it's a bit easier of a turn for someone to have like a not a guilty conscience.
Yeah.
Um yeah, but I do like that.
In the musical, um, it's it's probably just like Esmeralda. Just did I say the movie again? I meant the musical.
Yeah, you said musical.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's probably just Esmeralda, like her want to understand Quasimodo in a lot of ways. I feel
Hmm.
like is very deep in the musical, and I think that's probably my favorite storyline. And kind of their friendship. I guess that's like kind of the musical in a nutshell is their friendship, but
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, where there's yeah, like she likes his friends. Oh, the gargoyles, everything speaks to you. Like um she just kind of rolls with it,
yeah,
which yeah, I don't know if movie Esmeralda would like really get with that.
yeah. What about you?
Um so my favorite storyline from the musical um is Frollo's setup. It is the opening number um where it tells the story of him and Jayon. Um I think that adds just so much more depth and um how this this character who is this really, really evil dude. Like, it doesn't justify what he does, but like you understand how he got there and why he is the way that he is.
Sure.
Um, and it and I think it does a lot more setup for the story, and gives it a bit deeper meaning.
Nice. What about
Um,
the movie?
that one's trickier. Like I kind of agree with you with like Phoebus's turn. Um,
It's kind of clean. Like, he
yeah,
comes in all cocky and stuff, and like, and then even at the end, like in the movie, like him rallying the people is like kind of nice.
yeah, like that is present in the musical. It's like, but the turn is it's a bit more clear. Um, like I think there's a bit more speaking in the movie. Like it's kind of just like sung, as far as
Well,
hear me, like let's fight, and then they
yeah,
start
yeah,
doing it. But I think there's a bit more of a speech when he's
yeah.
like
He is the speech
going through
in
all
the
the
in the
nastiness that Frollo's
musical.
done.
His turn almost seems like it's for Esmeralda rather than for his
Hmm.
morals, and
Sure.
I think that's not as cool.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Um, I think for the movie, I I did like the like omnipresent nature of Clopin, like being that like storyteller who knows all. Um, and it's kind of different, and I think that it's important. Like in the opening number, he asks Clopin in the movie asks who is the monster and who is the man. But in the movie, we ask the question, or in the musical, we ask the question, what makes a monster and what makes a man? That like line changes the entire meaning and entire context of, because there are both those qualities in both our your main characters of Frollo and Quasimodo. He is monstrous in ways, um, and it's just different, not just like who's bad, who's good, but like what makes a person bad, what makes a person good.
I love it. Let's go on to could be better for both. I'll start with the movie. Um, there's a line where she says "great mask" to Quasimodo, and listen, I get it. They're
Yeah,
trying to establish that he's ugly, but
or that she doesn't realize that it's
it's
not
kind of a
someone's
weird
face.
delivery for her character, in my opinion. Just the way that it happens in the movie, I thought was like, oof. Ooh.
Yeah, ooh, yeah.
Um, I. Oh, man. Okay, I'll get through a couple of them. We can go on the big one. I thought the use of CGI in this movie was terrible. Like, not just because of the age in which it came out, but like it was way overused for you think about like the Lion King and the Stampede. Like, that was a perfect use of CGI. It was beautiful. It was like one of the most amazing scenes, but they used it all the time in this movie. Like, did you notice when you watched it last how much CGI they were trying to blend in? It was so much.
Yeah, I had read that. I don't think I've ever like really noticed it, like, and maybe I have rose colored glasses on, right?
Holy
And
crap,
so
dude.
like I'll go back and watch it and like pay closer attention to the actual like
It,
visual of it and like the CGI.
yeah.
See if I can catch that.
Listen, I also get where CGI was at in 1996. So like
Yeah.
it is what it is. It is what it is. But like I don't know. And then I just think this is too sad to be a Disney movie. Like I think that it's like so jarring to have a happy ending to this movie because nothing
Right.
happens that's happy. It's like all of a sudden
Right.
it's like we win, he's dead, blah. Like it's honestly jarring. Like it's honestly like what just how is this where we ended up?
Yeah. It's. I think we talked about it before in one of the when we were ranking our favorite Disney movies,
Yeah,
and how wild it was that this movie got like a PG rating.
it's not PG.
Yeah.
It's G.
Oh, it's G. Oh Lord. Yeah. Okay. That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, I think this is way too sad to be this. Like legitimately, I don't think they should have done it. I think like the musical is great. I'm glad the musical exists, but this movie, I do not think it. I think I know you're gonna hate it. I think it is the worst of the Disney Renaissance by like a substantial margin, and it's not because it's a bad story. It's not because it just doesn't fit in. It doesn't fit in Disney. It doesn't. It just doesn't even make sense. Like, listen, I get like the thing is they didn't give it the Little Mermaid treatment, right? Like they didn't make it happy. Like they didn't give
Sure.
it the Rapunzel treatment. They didn't make it. The whole movie's sad.
Oh, yeah. It's like the miserable people. But
It's just weird. Like in Little Mermaid, sad story, terribly sad
yeah.
story. Rapunzel, horribly sad story. Guess what? They didn't do that. In this, they just told the sad story. They're like, happy ending, let's go. And I'm like, what just happened?
That's the real turn. That's the real heel turn. Is it's like we're giving you this sad movie for the entire time. This all this darkness and depression, and like, oh wait, the characters end up happy.
What about you?
Finger guns. Um, for me, I think about like specific moment of like I get that they're trying to set up. You don't have to make Frollo more evil. When he was like describing to the guy torturing the person in the Hall of Justice, just like take your time between, and this is from the movie, take your time between like lashes so that they'll remember the pain, like or that the sting doesn't dull from the first one. Like it, they didn't have to do that. Like he was already just this horrible, terrible person. Like that was a bit of that was not very necessary. Um, what about the musical?
Um, I think that there is a lot of. I don't know if it was just your show. Oh man, this is gonna sound so
Sure.
critical, but like the singing to set up blocking, I hate in every show. Anytime you are singing to set up blocking in a show, I'm like, what? Why?
What what's an is there like an example you can
Oh
kind of
yeah,
point to
dude,
for
it
that?
happened a lot in the show. Where like they're just in. It's not. It maybe it's like they're just singing. They're not even singing like actual songs. They're like making music as they're walking to like across the stage in different ways and things. And like I don't know. I kind of want to watch like see if there's like a YouTube video of the Broadway show. But
Mhm.
like
I should have sent you. I have a video. I have a video of me playing Frollo.
oh yeah, I would love that. Um like the this is to be fair, this is not a critique of this musical as much as it's a critique of musicals that do this, where like they'll have either the ensemble or they'll like. So I think multiple times in your show, for example, they they dimmed the lights and then they cut to the choirs, and the choirs would sing while
Hmm.
they were setting up stage, right? But
Sure. Yeah.
then on the stage, they would also have either the ensemble or the choir like singing or humming, or like, making musical notes while they were walking to their places. And it's like, just
Okay.
just dim the lights and set up the show. You're like, I
Okay.
don't agree. It's fine.
Yeah. It's. I mean, then that's fine. Like.
It's not just this show. Shows
Yeah.
do it all the time.
Yeah. And I guess that's just like a preference thing
Yeah.
because like
There are musicals that
I
do it. There are musicals that don't, and I don't like it.
okay.
Uh,
So like for example, I'm one that I'm thinking of is like the before Made of Stone with the like while the city slumbered, Quasimodo sat awake. Like where they're like changing from the assault scene over to
I think the
the
biggest
bell
one
tower.
was actually at the beginning of the show with
Mm,
the. I don't know if it's like they're all deacons or
sure.
like,
It's tricky to do the storytelling because it's like switching between
yeah,
like scenes of like, oh, now we're gypsies with
yeah. I totally
Jayon.
get it. And like I said, this is not the only show that has this
Yeah.
problem. So, um, dude, you know what? That would be really cool. Doing this show in the round.
Well, that is something that is happening
Or are they
next year
doing it?
at the West Valley Theater. Yeah.
Oh, West Valley. I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about.
So so yeah, a local theater is it's the Old Hale
Okay,
in West Valley. In fact, yeah. So
they're doing it in the round.
yes.
I wonder how you would do this show in the round. That's interesting. Anyway, sorry, nerdy,
Nerd alert.
nerdy theater stuff just came out there.
Yeah.
Our theaterness came out. I don't really have like a lot of could be betters for the musical itself. I think it's way too long. As
Yeah.
a musical.
Yeah.
Um,
We had a later start time because we were outdoors and like as far as like the lights, we started like most shows when you go see something like musical theater start at like 7:30. We started at 8. And so part of that was because it like was during the summer, right? So it was just like way too hot before and the sun was out.
hotter than Hades' armpit.
Yeah. And the sun was too high for some of the effects and lighting. A
Sure.
lot of that came into play after, but yeah, I told a few people I was like, I'm worried about the cotton tops, you know, falling asleep or getting out past their bedtime because it is like a 3-hour show.
It's
And
so long. Well, we
yeah,
looked it up before we came to the show because, like, most musicals are like 90 minutes to 2 hours, right? And we looked it up, and like the Broadway one is like 3.5 hours.
yeah, and that's with a quick tempo too. Like some of the things like we up the tempo a little bit on. It was nice to have a live orchestra to be able to help manage that a bit as well.
What about you? Do you have any could be betters for the musical, or is it perfect?
Not perfect. I don't think anything is really perfect. Wow. Okay. Um, yeah, I guess I put it on there and I didn't really I didn't really think of it could be better for the musical. Um, as I say, nothing's perfect. Yeah, I think the musical what we did with the one at the Draper Historic Theater where we gave a lot of the ensemble stuff to Clopin to make him a bigger character in the musical, I think is a good way to tell the story, um, along with everything. So I think that is something that could be better with the musical as far as like how it's written for and there is power in that too as far as like the entire group telling the story and having those like spotlight moments. But I think there's also power in the one voice, um, kind of with that omnipotent perspective
Do you, have
telling
any,
how things go.
do you have any Lovets we haven't mentioned?
Um, the music is just so good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I had
I
Hellfire
don't
stuck in my head today, so I don't know if I
yeah,
agree with that.
that's not the worst thing to have stuck in your head. I've had worse. Yeah, I don't know if there's more Lovets. Um, I've gone into a fair amount of detail. Um,
Well, I have some. Okay.
okay.
So I think that the movie does a really good job of using the movie to progress the story. Um, whereas, like, some movies just don't do that. I think that some movies are not good at using the music to move the
Mm,
story forward. I
mhm.
think we've talked about this in other things when I like how it's like a huge love for me when they can do it. Um, so that's one. Another one is kind of just like the homie moves by between Frodo um
Oh,
and Phobit. Phoebus, is it Phoebus?
Frollo and Phoebus.
No, no,
You
not Frollo, not Frollo. Frodo and Phoebus. Like, there's a time where they're where Phoebus just hypes up Frodo. Or did I say Frodo? Quasimodo. Holy crap!
yeah, yeah. So I thought you were making a joke because
No,
in our programs,
no.
we,
It is your program's fault that happened. Which we told in the podcast that they had Frodo. It's, I was trying. I was like, "There's a
I thought you
character."
were being ironic
I was.
in
I
doing
was
that.
not.
Okay, cool.
But it is. No, I was talking about between Quasimodo and Phoebus. Anyway. No, I thought that there's multiple times in the movie where they have homie moments, and I thought they were pretty great. And then just kind of the quotable moments, like, uh, I'm free, dang it," is like just one of my favorite
Oh,
Disney
yeah,
lines.
because he was in Aladdin as well. That character,
Yep.
right? It's like in the jail there too. He's like
Yeah.
always the guy who's locked up. Yeah, Monsieur was one of my favorite little bits that they added in there. He falls in the sewer.
Which do you prefer?
I prefer the musical. It's a deeper story. That's
I also prefer the musical. I don't know that I'll ever sit through it again. That's so long, but
fair enough.
some,
Maybe you'll sit through the movie I send you.
did you send me it already?
Not yet. No.
I don't really. We can rate them. What would you rate the movie?
4.5.
Awesome. I rate the movie 3.5.
Even with all the CGI stuff.
I was gonna say 3. Do you want me to go lower?
I mean, that's your
No,
your grade.
I think that it's like, I just don't think it fits into Disney's. I, it's just, I don't know. I just, there's something about the movie that I'm just like it, and I'm like a really empathetic person. So like this movie and this musical is just like, oh my gosh. What about the musical? What would you rate that? 5 out of 7.
6.
A 5 out of 7, perfect score. Yeah, I'd give the musical like a 4 or 4.5. I really do think it is too long, but you
Yeah.
know, It is what it
I don't know.
is.
I don't know how you like improve the time, right? Like that's something that
I don't know either.
it feels like a lot of the stuff is. I don't think there's like a lot of fluff with the musical. Like I feel like kind of every bit of that is important to telling the
I
story.
think that if you made the musical a movie and didn't have to set up blocking and like transitions, that it would probably only be 2.5 hours.
Which, like, I am actually hoping that they do eventually make a live action version of that that's closer to the musical.
Do you know what I
That
mean? Do you know what
to
I mean
tell
though?
the yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
Like so much of it is set up and like I think that there probably could be some chorus uh or not chorus, some choir sounds that could get cut, but like I don't
sure.
know.
Yeah, that's something where it's written to have a choir so that they give spotlight to that, especially like to start Act Two. Like you don't have to have the whole like there is no Act Two if you do a movie. So like I
Yeah.
completely understand that perspective.
If you want to suggest something, well, before I do this, actually, I just want to say thank you. Like, this was actually a really fun episode to do. I'm really glad that I got to do it with you, and yeah, it was really fun. So,
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was fun to kind of dig into that. It's been a while, right? So like I this was in July, and so like when I haven't really gone back to it as far as like that's it was nice to kind of go back.
nice. If you want to suggest an episode, leave a comment, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify. We have quite a few things listed that we want to talk about. We always want to hear from the listener about the things that they want. Um, And then, don't forget to leave a review, whether it's on Spotify or leave a like or whatever. Apple Podcasts, wherever you can. It really, really does help the show out. So, Patty B, where can people find you?
They can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at PattyBMTG, and I may have Shelby I may record like a little bit of Out There as a TikTok
That'd
to put on the channel,
be cool.
or it's one of the songs from the musical. So
That'd be dope. You can find me on Threads. It's my favorite social media app right now. At Spencer13H. You can find me on Twitter at He's a Game. You can find me every week on Constructive Criticism. I was super sick this last week on Tuesday, so I didn't get to do the episode. But they did an episode on Playing Under Pressure, which is one that I really pushed for, and we've gotten some really good feedback on it. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I have not gotten the chance to listen to that one yet, but it is on my list.
And then you can find me soon every week. We're figuring out. Matt's went back to school, so we're trying to find the right clash date recording. If you want to watch magic content where two people go at each other's throats in a matchup, it'll be on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and review. And we'll see you all next week as we talk about Arnie to Nerd and rom-coms. I am so excited. I love rom-coms so much.
Okay. Sounds like we're gonna have to watch a few rom-coms this week to get in the spirit of things.
I'm so excited.
I love
Bye,
that.
everybody.